So greetings everyone. We're here today to talk about the NFT collaboration between myself and Sweet to Sour called the Tentacles of Fear Stung to Life by the Dream of Wasp. It's a pleasure for Andrea for you to join me here today. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this NFT. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, hey, I'm very excited to talk about this and to be here with you and to share all our journey of this piece with everyone in this beautiful community. So yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, there's so many things that I'd like to get into today, but the thing that I'd like to kick off with, if it's okay with you, I want to talk to you a bit about where do you find inspiration for your work and where does the meaning come from?
Well, inspiration, I guess it's really easy for me. I mean, I'm observing all the time. So basically, I'm just like analyzing everything. I got like one of these minds which never rest, you know? So basically, I'm just observing people. That's like what I like. I observe myself a lot and everyone else. So that's my inspiration, like human nature and human attitudes and human behaviors. So basically that's where I take my inspiration from. And what was the other question?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll help you with that. So one thing I've noticed about your aesthetics is that I'm glad you mentioned human nature, but I noticed a kind of perverse, slightly perverse representation of the human anatomy. So I'm wondering if perhaps there is some meaning within the way that you distort and manipulate your human figures.
Well, yeah, honestly, I like not normal things. So, and sometimes I even like some things like a little bit dark. So, yeah, I like to manipulate everything I do in a darker, stranger way. So it looks like more different than reality, you know. I don't like to copy reality the way it is because I have the possibilities to create new distorted realities. So that's what I do with my art, and that's what I like to demorph everything in a way that's never gonna be seen in real life.
Well, I think that's totally one of the reasons why we're working together. I'm also someone, as you can tell from my work, who loves a bit of the freaky and grotesque. And for me, it's not necessarily a negative thing to be exhibiting things which are a bit unnatural, not normal. And I think it's our duty as artists to sometimes push boundaries and present people something which they're not going to see in real life. I think we discussed this before, but I mean, that's what a camera and a photocopier is for. If you want a true representation, a snapshot of what's going on around us, use a camera. However, if you want to convey a message or a meaning or present someone with a new opportunity or view of the world, let's distort. Let's create something which the brain of the artist is processing what we're seeing and collecting into our brains and outputting onto our canvases. So yeah, I respect that. And one thing I've noticed throughout your work, you do have certain things that reappear, as all artists do. And in particular, I noticed you use the eyeball quite a lot in your work. Does this signify anything?
Yeah, it really is kind of a symbol for me, the eyeball. Since the beginning of my life, I've been drawing eyes. And I've been like a really fan of everything that has to do with eyes. I really have like notebooks, clothes, rings, every kind of thing. And really, it's become like somehow a symbol for me in terms of the way I get my inspiration. Because as I told you before, part of my process, and I think the most important part of my process, is to observe everything and to analyze everything. And somehow the eye is like a symbol of that. And that's what it means for me. And also the fact that eyes are so truthful, you know. I like to include them in my art, not only because they are crazy as fuck, but also because they are so truthful and they mean a lot for me. I mean, eyes don't lie, so um, somehow it's like a way to remind myself that what I'm doing is a pure representation of my soul and of my mind. So that's what the eye means for me.
Totally, rad. Yeah, that's awesome. So on that topic, I will say that there was, I can't remember who said it, but apparently the eyes reveal the window to our souls. And by this statement, we really cannot lie with our eye. So it's always telling us the truth. Both, I guess, in two directions, because looking at an eye, we can take away the meaning someone else is giving us, but using our eye, we perceive it too. So there is a bit of a dualistic nature. Not that it's what you're saying, but I get what you're saying now. That's really interesting. When it comes to art, anecdotally speaking, whenever I draw a character, I usually start with the eye and then I develop everything else around it. So I'll usually go from the eye to the nose to the mouth, then probably put the head and the shape around it and stuff like that. But yeah, there is something very, very special about eyes that are instantly full of context and meaning that we can all take something away from. That's awesome. I guess on that topic, I'm curious if it's important for you that the meaning that you're intending to give someone is there for them to receive it, or are you happy for people to make their own interpretation of your work?
Well, honestly, all my works have a deep meaning. Usually they are taken out from myself or the people that are close to me and surround me. But I understand it's not the main focus on everyone to see the meaning or understand the meaning of my pieces or any kind of pieces. I mean, I know it's not for everyone to dig in and try to understand what's beneath the aesthetic. Um, I really put a lot of effort on both on the meaning and the aesthetic, but I absolutely respect any kind of people, the ones that just like the aesthetic and are like just focusing on the skills, the software, and everything that make this happen. And I also appreciate a lot the people that try to dig in and understand what I was trying to say through this aesthetic. So yeah, both things are important for me, and I appreciate everyone the way they see this and understand it and enjoy art. So yeah.
So yeah, I really like that actually. Yeah, so I'll tell you that again, it's another thing that we have in common as artists. Very much for me, the meaning and the aesthetic is important, but I much prefer that the aesthetic is tight before I start talking about meaning this, meaning that. However, the same way, if someone doesn't get the meaning I'm trying to put across, or I don't even have a meaning, but they invent one, I'm always very curious and happy to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, also I think that sometimes in some artworks it's like kind of difficult to see and understand what was the meaning. And our collab, I might say it's one of those examples. Like the meaning behind it, it's like so difficult to like understand if you don't see this interview.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, which is why I think it's a great idea that we're doing this. I'll tell you what, before we get into the actual NFT, I just want to ask you, then again, I want to ask you a two-part question. The first part is I'm curious if you have a usual process and workflow to the things that you create, for example, the work seen on your Instagram. And then I'm wondering if perhaps for our NFT, you had to do something differently because you're working in a collaborative format.
Well, honestly, it depends on the day, you know. Sometimes I'm just like, I have like these ideas and I want to transmit them through an artwork. So I just like plan everything and I write down like how the hair, the eyes, the pose, the assets, how everything is going to be to transmit that idea. And it's a very planned artwork. But other days I'm just like home and I'm just like, I want to do art. I'm going to sit down and it creates like itself and I don't know what is going on and it's just like happening. And both ways it's amazing. I really enjoy both, but a particular specific process I use, there's no one because I don't know, sometimes art just takes control of me and I just create. Um, and in this case, yeah, it was definitely different because I began with something with your graffiti piece. So I understood since the beginning that that was going to be the background. So it wasn't so hard to figure out what I was going to do with that. But the thing was, what am I going to do in front of that to merge both ideas into one new remastered idea. So yeah, it was different because I had a starting point. But I really enjoyed to try to figure out what you were trying to say, because you didn't tell me anything about the meaning of your piece. I just literally saw it and interpreted like the way I could. So it was very enjoyable, and I really liked it a lot. It was different, out of my comfort zone.
Right, yeah. So I really like what you said there about, sometimes when we're creating, we have an idea in mind and we fulfill that idea. Other times we let one thing roll to another, and before we know it, we've created something. It's almost as if we're channeling some sort of spirits or voices in our head that we're not even aware of. I find a lot of times when I'm creating, especially street art pieces, I'm very much influenced by the environment around me. And when I turn up to a wall, sometimes I'm very clear of what I want to do, but the wall itself and the environment will tell me something else. What I'll need to do is adjust my work to fit the surroundings in order for the final capture of that piece to make sense. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this crypto graffiti project with artists such as yourself is because I feel like the work, which was originally painted on a wall, just simply does not work being minted as an NFT on as a crypto art piece on the blockchain. There's another thing I need to tell you, that when I create work, I often don't feel it's actually validated and ready and existing as a piece until people are there to interact with it. And by that, I mean that after I sometimes finish a piece, I'll step back, I'll be putting away my spray cans, and I'll look and I'll see like people posing next to it, and they're taking pictures of their partners, or they're just doing stuff next to it, throwing shapes up. I'm like, damn, yeah, that really that's really working, and this environment has been created. And what I really like about your character being posed next to my character in this now three-dimensional environment, it kind of recreates that scenario that happens in the real life, but now happens in a kind of metaverse situation. So I get the point that sometimes we're influenced by an initial starting point. So in this case, obviously, you had a piece to work with and you kind of worked around that. Normally, like you said, you either start with a very clear idea that you realize, or you're led from one thing to the next. So I guess my next question is what you imagined in the first place for this collaboration what you ended up doing in the end? Or were you open to a bit of, let's say, movement within the creation of the piece?
Well, I really had no visual expectations of how it was going to look at the end, but I can definitely tell you, and you know this, that it wasn't like I was planning. Important part to mention that we had like this final piece before, at least in my case, I showed ViNNi like this ended up finished artwork, and we decided together to make some changes at the end, because it wasn't like we were expecting. To be more clear, I might say that I had like these limitations in my mind in terms of I don't know, in terms of giving, because this was my first collab, and I've learned a lot in this collab, and part of this was that I had in my mind this idea of framing and the number of pixels of height and width. And it might sound like it's not that important, but made the total difference of the output in this case, in this artwork and in this collab. I had this idea that all my artworks should have that framing, and ViNNi's graffiti was horizontal, so it wasn't like easy to put the graffiti inside the framing, and I ended up like making like a big zoom inside of the wasp's face, and it wasn't like the best idea, and I thought at the time that it was the best idea ever and it was looking great, and I just showed this to you and I was like, ViNNi, look at this is awesome, and you were like, wait, the framing is weird, and I was like, yeah, it is. So we had to make some changes, and at the end it was like I just opened my head, opened my mind, opened my possibilities. I did a framing that worked better for both of us, and I ignored that part of me that was just like, no, you have to follow this framing. And at the end it was beautiful, and it was like the best decision ever. So yeah, it definitely was not the way I was planning it to be, and I'm glad for that. I'm very thankful with you about that, because if it wasn't for you, um, it wouldn't be that amazing. So
Well, I feel really honored that you say such a thing. What I will say is I am really happy that the changes that were suggested were made. And I am really thankful and really honored that your first successful collaboration was with me. And I'm really glad that you didn't just tell me to fuck off and go to hell after I thought it would change what you thought was a final piece. But I think to be fair, maybe if the winning bidder would like to receive the other piece as well, we could probably throw that in. I suppose maybe.
yeah, yeah, we can look it up and show like the before and the after.
Yeah, because I mean, it was an interesting thing, but I think this is the point that when you're collaborating with other people, other artists, yes, there is an element of I have to retain what I'm doing, obviously, because I love your style. That's why I want to work with you. But there is a part of we have to be able to coexist harmoniously so that both of our styles can not only be represented fully, but also so they can both breathe and be happy and coexist on a page together. Um, yeah, I think without going into too much detail, the new version, the version 2.0 gave both our characters more space to breathe and to really be themselves to their full extreme nature, you know? So yeah, I'm really fucking happy with the way it turned out. Super, super, super much so. I guess that there is something about when you collaborate, it's as much about giving as much of yourself as possible and your art, but also making sure there's enough room for the other artists to breathe and represent what they are doing. In the end, I think that the decision we made together was the right one to make. And I think version 2.0 ended up looking much more, much more in every way possible better, I suppose. So yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you for both of those things. Right, okay, so speaking of this collaboration, what makes it quite unusual is the fact that we're not only merging two different styles of art and artists coming onto one piece, but also the formats and the mediums we're using couldn't be more different and removed. What does appear on first instance. So obviously I painted this piece on a wall, on a real wall, using spray paint, which was blacklight reactive, that I then exposed to my portable blacklight. And the actual piece was about 6 meters wide by about 2.5 meters high. And now you've been given that piece as a digital asset and taken it from so it went from a 3D environment to a digital photograph, which is two-dimensional, which you then translated back into a three-dimensional asset, which I think is kind of conceptually mind-blowingly awesome. But I'm also just really curious as to how you managed to achieve, what software have you been using to create this piece, and how did you go around that?
Well, Photoshop, first of all, I used it to like fix a little perspective things in the photograph. Then I used Blender as my main creation software. Everything goes inside Blender, and there's where the render happens. So yeah, basically I used, for this specific collab, I used Photoshop, I used Blender, I used DAZ Studio, and I think I used Substance Painter, and basically these are the softwares I used in this case. Of course, at the end of the rendering and everything, the post-production was also in Photoshop, and I think we did a great job. I mean, I think everything is like, I don't know, it looks like really merged in together, like it's really one single piece instead of two things like merged together creating a new one. It seems like it was one thing since the beginning, so it was beautiful.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I totally have that vibe and feeling also. And being someone who comes from a more, I guess, painterly and kind of like real life art background, I am beyond amazed and impressed that this managed to happen. Because when I look at this piece, like you said, it just feels like it was designed like that from the beginning, and I super love that. Um, I think one thing we should kind of mention is like a lot of people might look at this and be really freaked out and scared and be just like, what the fuck is this shit? Yeah. So I think it's important for us to tell people that actually, despite its maybe slightly aggressive and sinister look, it's got a pretty positive meaning, which you can obviously click on the link and you can read the description. All the meaning is there. But what I'd like to do maybe now, which is more something someone won't be able to know, is break down some of the individual elements that appear within the piece and maybe what they represent. Do you think we could do that?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right. So firstly, I'd really like to begin with, actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to start off by telling you why I love blacklight. And I think, again, this is kudos to you, Andrea. This is so cool. There's a lot of people who struggle with using a certain color palette or working in ways which are not comfortable to them, but you just took the piece and you ran with it. So that was super awesome. But for me, blacklight is this kind of medium which has got a very mysterious, a very magical kind of quality. And whenever I sort of do art shows, and more in my life when I'm doing graffiti murals, I'm trying to incorporate blacklight because it sends people into this kind of twilight, mysterious, very surreal kind of world where everything is the same, yet slightly different. And obviously there's the fluorescence and the neon impact that it has, which is very visually powerful and shocking, but also sending someone into that sort of surreal, am I in a dream kind of state is something that I really love to achieve. And definitely when I'm looking at the piece in its entirety now with the street art in the background and your character posed in front, it does feel super dreamy and very surreal. Is this an intention that you were going for? Am I missing the mark here?
No, definitely. I honestly think that surrealism is something that's really important in my artworks in general. I mean, definitely. And I really love the fact that you used black light because it gives like this kind of magic and this kind of color palette that it's so unique. So definitely, I wanted to do something surreal.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Yeah, really cool. And I love the way that, for example, you color matched. So, for example, the hair the girl has got in the piece is purple, and that very much matches the blacklight kind of purple aesthetic. You created a super nice effect with the floor, the way that she's posed, with her legs spread upwards, resting on the piece, and her arms propping her up. She's being reflected off the floor. So I'm curious. Okay, so that's the first thing I'll say. Maybe I'll just mention some of these things, and you can tell me how they all work together. But there's the reflection aspect. There's also this slime that's dripping off the piece as well. And of course, there's the tentacles. Who can not mention the tentacles? They're in a very suggestive place, and they're certainly interacting with her in a very mysterious way. And of course, the girl herself, the way she's posed and the way that she's very potentially, I guess, open. How do these elements all play together, and especially in relation to the creature as well in the background?
Okay, let me tell you a bit background of everything, and maybe
Please.
you can understand in the way like how everything blends in. Either way, I'm going to tell you. Basically, this girl, this woman, is going through a transformation. She's going through a difficult moment where everything is going to change for her, and that's somehow how the eye popping out from the forehead, the purple hair, the tentacles, how everything is showing this kind of transformation or transition she's going through a new level of her own being. I mean, she's transforming into her true self. And these kind of things were the way I found to show this strange, not normal, out of the box transformation she's going through. Because sometimes, I mean, it's difficult and it's kind of a revolutionary act to be yourself, you know. And this talking in real life, sometimes there's going to be people that think that's weird, it's not right, it's not the best thing you could do, and they take personally your decisions. So this kind of visual representation um, was the way I found to say this. Okay, she's weird. Okay, they are tentacles. Okay, hair is purple, but that's who she really is. So even though it looks weird, it's so truthful and so honest to herself, that that's the way she is. And also the arms and the legs opened are a way of showing that she's accepting this. I mean, so maybe it's going to be hard, um, maybe there are people that are going to cross in the way or something, but she's accepting that, and that's the way she's like lay down with everything open, accepting everything that's coming. So yeah, the slime has to do a lot with your graffiti actually. um, when I first saw it, I thought like, whoa, what does this graffiti makes me feel? And somehow I just focused on the scary part of it. Um, I mean, the face and everything, the light, the colors, everything was so surreal, but at my point of view was also like a little bit scary. Um, so yeah, I tried to focus on something scary that was going on in my life. And that's what I came up with, like this kind of transformations into your true self. Sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's scary to get out of your comfort zone. So when I saw the wasp, I I thought about this Spider-Man movie, um, where this black Spider-Man appears, and I don't know if his name is Venom. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you like this kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not really.
Sorry to interrupt, but I fucking love this kind of stuff. I fucking love Venom to the point that I have a big old fucking Venom tattoo. But yeah, Venom is one of the main inspirations for me painting this graffiti piece, actually. But maybe I'll tell you a bit about that afterwards. Yeah, it's a bit crazy. I can't believe we didn't go over this before already. But yeah, sorry, bringing it back. Venom appeared in, I think, Spider-Man 3. I'm not such a huge fan of the movies as I am the comics, but the Tobey Maguire got taken over by the symbiote Venom. Okay, please carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Just that movie, the Tommy Maguire one. Um, and I somehow the was just like made me think about him. And this character has like this ability to get into your body and just be like really sticky and really hard to get it out of your body. and
Yeah.
and I remember the feeling of Peter Parker, how this stickiness at first was feeling right, was feeling good, it was everything okay, but at the end it was just like really damaging for himself, and he wasn't his true self when he was with this stickiness in his body. And somehow like the slime that's going out of the wasp mouth made me thought about that, and also the face and everything. So I just thought like, well, I think this kind of stickiness has to do with all of this idea in general, because sometimes it's really hard to decide to change and to decide to get out of your comfort zone and be yourself. So basically that's the inspiration beneath the slime. And the mirror, also the mirror is really important. Basically the mirror is the fact that she is absolutely looking herself and digging into herself and seeing herself the way she truly is and becoming that. So yeah. I think I covered
Lovely.
all the parts. Remind me if
Almost, almost. Yeah, I think actually, so Herbert, it's a great bridge because there's one element you missed out, but I think you told me about it before. And what people will be surprised to know about is the tentacles are not holding her down. They are actually becoming more than, you know, her final form or something like this. I think we described it as.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I thought about the tentacles in a way that they are, yeah, coming out from her, but not in a sexual way. I mean, more like in a transformation, evolution kind of way. Like you don't have legs now, you now have legs and tentacles.
Also.
Your possibilities are more. And I also missed to talk about the hands, you know, like the hands that are touching her. I saw those hands like a way of this external force that are trying to grab her and tie her and make this more difficult for her, but she doesn't care. So that's the symbolism of these external people or external beings or external forces that keep you from changing and becoming your true self.
That is like super fucking deep, and I love it. I love every aspect of what you just said. Okay, where do I begin? Where do I begin, really and truly? Okay, so firstly, okay, I love the tentacles are the fact that now, in addition to her legs, she has become multi-terrain. She can walk on land, and possibly she can swim underwater like a motherfucker as well. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's super cool. Maybe one day she'll have wings as well, but for now, okay, she's like this. I love this. I think it's very subtle. By the way, what I like about it is it's very subtle. You're not kind of pushing something so obviously into someone, you know. But like now that you explain it like this, it's all very clear. The reflection of her, her really embracing who she is and rejecting the slime, embracing the tentacle, looking at herself in this way, reflecting and feeling happy with it, feeling relaxed and open to the suggestion is super cool. I guess you didn't mention the eyeball, but I believe this is like almost like your signature. Just to say that, like, yep, this is by me. This is a Sweet to Sour original, well, collaboration original. I think that's also really important that as artists, I feel like we don't need to like necessarily sign something for someone to realize that the work is by a certain artist. I think that once we, and even with your work, I really believe that it doesn't require an eyeball to know that it's a piece by you. I can almost tell your pieces by the way that your faces and certain parts of the human anatomy are extended or, you know, morphed and so forth. So I really, really appreciate that. So and of course the bit about Venom is really funny because I guess I should have maybe said this to you in the beginning, but yeah, very much okay. Venom is, to me, not just growing up, really something that I fell in love with aesthetically, but also thematically. So Venom is like this really sort of grotesque, evil, powerful, you know, alien monster. He's this alien entity that comes and attaches itself to Spider-Man, then a different host body, but every time he attaches it to someone, the effect is slightly different. He has this multitude of powers. He has, at some points in the comic books, been good, sometimes evil, but overall, this kind of like anti-hero kind of character, which I really like because, you know, in life, there's no such thing as a purely perfect human being. You know, it's like what Dali said, have no fear of perfection, or you'll never achieve it, you know, stuff like that. So I like this kind of idea of a flawed superhero, this anti-hero, lethal protector, Venom. And yeah, when you said to me that the piece reminded you of Venom, that's great because in this piece, I was trying to, in this graffiti piece in the background, I was trying to pay homage and respect to a lot of things that have inspired me over the years in my practice as an artist, and also just as a thank you to giving me entertainment. Because if you look at the piece, you'll notice the eye of the wasp is very much the Venom style eye. It's a little bit changed. Yep. The teeth and the tongue, which is a very signature of Venom, again, is applied to the wasp. But as we mentioned previously, being someone, I mean, both of us quite enjoy this kind of alien, kind of slightly different stuff, I suppose, to call it. The insect world is super freaky and super weird and super, you know, alien, for lack of a better word. And I thought to myself, yeah, well, everyone talks about, okay, what Wolverine or Spider-Man or Superman got, you know, attached by Venom. Let's take it a step further. What would happen if a wasp, an insect, was, you know, attached by Venom? How would that work? And of course, we have the venom in a wasp already, the sting. What if we combine these two Venoms together? Yeah, so I guess, oh, the other reason why I painted this piece is because it was very near the release of the original Venom movie that featured this actor. He's really cool. I forgot his name now. Tom Hardy. Right. So of course, yeah, you're right. The first appearance of Venom on the cinema screen was with the Tobey Maguire film, but then it was made as a standalone movie with Tom Hardy. Yeah, and that was pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
Not yet.
yeah, I think I think okay, it's not the best movie in terms of story, but especially for people who maybe study 3D art, there are some super nice effects in there, and from that aspect, the CGI, it's worth having a look, you know, or maybe just like type into YouTube, you know, best scenes from Venom, and you can just get the whole thing instead of watching the whole movie.
No, honestly, I really would like to see it. I mean, I really enjoy to see these VFX and CGI
Hmm.
creations. Honestly, that's part of the reason I love the Spider-Man movies and the superhero movies. Not that much about the stories, but the effects. I really enjoy that. So definitely, I'm
Right.
going to look at it. And I'm really amazed right now about how we somehow connected in ways that we never imagined. I can't believe you really inspired this graffiti in Venom, and then with no explanation at all, I just thought about Venom. I mean, that's amazing. And I think since the beginning, you and I had like this really cool relationship connection, and we have been like an amazing team. So yeah, I don't stop surprising myself with you. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. It's funny how we had to wait to this moment to find that out, because actually, this is in theory the first time we are talking about this collaboration. Prior to this, we really just speak on messages. So it's funny how most of the communication we've had has been a visual one and has been working not through language that's spoken, but through language that's drawn. And we talk to each other by looking at each other's work and then finding out ways to talk to each other like this, which is really cool as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's really beautiful considering that when we decided to do this collab, we haven't met at all or have seen each other faces. So I think this is an amazing output, and it was like an amazing decision to do this together. And I'm looking forward to do some more.
Hell yeah, that will definitely happen. And I think it would be, let's keep it a surprise, but we know there is something cooking, but let's keep it a surprise. I don't want to show anyone anything yet. But on this topic, I must say that, like, yeah, you know, this is thanks to this whole amazing NFT world, NFT community, that we from other sides of the world have been brought together and had the privilege to do this. Andrea, I'd love to ask you at this stage if there's any NFT artists that you'd like to give a shout out to, or simply recommend to others to check out, or people that you like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I had the opportunity to meet so many amazing artists thanks to the NFT community. Honestly, before that, I didn't even know that were so much digital and non-digital artists out there. So yeah, I would like to mention a few of them. The first of them, it's called Fuzzy Sedated. I'm going to put his profile right here. He's an amazing artist and also an amazing person that has been supporting me through this path a lot, has taught me a lot of things, and also in personal ways he has listened to me. So it's beautiful how this doesn't like end up in only artistic and technical support, but also in deeper and much, yeah, personal, I don't know, ways. um, he's one of them. I would also like to talk about Cyber Wendy. She's amazing too, and she has supported me a lot in every way also. um,
Yeah,
I
sorry, I just chime in. Also, I agree, totally dope artist. Really big fan of what she's doing.
Yeah, she's amazing, and she got like this cyber woman, super powerful, and that's totally my thing. So, yeah, she's amazing. I would also like to talk about this guy who has inspired me since the beginning and has been with me since the beginning. He's RDM. Um,
Yeah, shout out to RDM. Big up RDM. Yeah, big fan of RDM. Yeah.
RDM is huge. He is amazing, and he is the best. I would also like to talk about Dansky. He has been supporting me also since the beginning. Uh, we were in this agency together, and this was called Chimera Crypto, and he has been with me also supporting every post, everything, my work, my words, my texts, everything. So I'm totally grateful with you. And well, I could keep going and going and
Yeah,
going.
right. I hear you. I know exactly what you're saying because recently in my life, it feels like I speak more to the NFT people than I do to my friends and family. But they
Yeah,
have become very quickly my source of not only my source of inspiration, but also my dearest friends and family as well. Like you said, it's this crazy kind of thing where we're all thrown in this massive melting pot. And yeah, sure, we're all artists, but like what uh, evolves and comes from that is more of a deeper connection than we could ever sort of hope to have, which is really, really cool. I think as well, I'd just like to note, sort of say at this stage that the piece that we did is available on Foundation app. So it's my first collection that I've created using Foundation app collection feature. It's part of the Cryptographitti collection, or Cryptograph if you're laced to pronounce an extra syllable. There is a website for it called Cryptografitti.xyz. At the moment, it exists as a blog post. It will be made into a fully featured website where each artist collaborating will get to say and show more of their work. So I'm really excited about that. Um, yeah, I will say there's a number of other really dope artists who are going to take part. For now, we're going to drop the link for our work. It's zero. The opening bid is 0.6 ETH. We think it's very fair price for, well, not only the quality and the standard and for what we put into the work itself, but in general, we think that it's a fair price. And well, if you have any further questions, I very much open up the audience to comment, ask anything more you want to know. If we haven't covered it already in this quite long video, we'll be very happy to explain further. Andrea, it's been a super, super pleasure talking to you today. I guess as a closing question, I would love to ask you, what does the future hold for Sweet to Sour? What are your ambitions? What's next?
well, first of all, working on art every day, every
Oh,
night,
yeah.
basically nonstop. It's so beautiful how creation takes control of yourself, and well, that's the main plan. And also, I'm working right now on my first collection that is going to be out on Foundation. Also really deep, or also very powerful. Has to do a lot um, with women, but also with men. I mean, it's like for everyone, and I hope you like it. It's going to be an animated collection. So yeah, also with pretty cool sound. So I'm looking forward to all of you seeing that and keep going with me through this journey, because I really appreciate each one of you by my side, and to see everyone like creating and growing up and making new things. It's really exciting for me to be surrounded by so many people who just exist to create. So thank you to all of you, and thank you very much for listening this and to being here.
That is super exciting and a lovely way to finalize. Do you have a name for this new project which you speak of already?
I don't have the name yet,
Okay.
but I'm working
I
on
think
that, and I'm sure it's going to be a pretty um, transcendent, powerful name. And
awesome.
and as soon I'm going to show you what's the name.
Awesome. I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I'm almost feeling like this collaboration we've done has not only been a transformation in a conceptual sense, but also something that's happening in the real world to someone that we're talking about right now. Andrea, listen, super pleasure. I think once you do find out this transcendental name, we'll have to put it in the description for this video. We'll keep updating it. For now, if everyone can give Andrea a follow at Sweet to Sour on both Instagram and Twitter is where she's most active. I've been ViNNi KiNiKi. It's been a pleasure. Om Shanti Namaste. Thank you so much.